Greetings, future scholars of America. Mr. Barfield here. Today's topic is introduction paragraphs for your essay. Feel free to rewatch, rewind, or pause this video as much as you need to get the best notes possible. By the end of this video, you should learn all these things and be able to define all these things. So, the three parts of the introduction are as easy as A, B, C. The A stands for attention grabber or hook, the B stands for background context, and the C, central argument, aka thesis. I like to think of the introduction paragraph as an upside down triangle. You start with something really general that people can relate to, no matter if they've read the story or not, with the hook. Then you get a little bit more specific, mentioning your story, and then finally you narrow it down to your thesis statement, which states your main argument. This is also a great example. Feel free to pause the video and read this. I got a time limit that I gotta meet. Let's keep moving. So your hook is going to be the first 1 to 3 sentences of your intro paragraph that grab the reader's attention. I'm going to go over 5 different types of hooks. There's definitely more, but I think 5 is plenty to get you started. Note that it's okay to break the personal pronoun rule when you're writing your hook, as long as you keep a formal tone. So the first one is an interesting fact. You try to surprise and impress the reader with an interesting fact related to your topic. If it's commonly known, people won't be interested. Don't forget to cite any research. For my examples today, I'm going to use examples from Arthur Miller's The Crucible. It's a play about the Salem witchcraft trials of 1692. That's all you really need to know. So let's say I was writing a paper on the theme of the Crucible, and my thesis statement is about how fear leads people to commit violent acts. I might start with an interesting fact about the witch trials themselves, like nearly 200 citizens were arrested as witches during the Salem witch scare of 1692. That's pretty interesting. That's a big number. I want to keep reading. Or you could try a question. Question is when you ask the reader something that they can visualize and try to think of in their own minds. Then the writer answers that question. For example, have you ever been so afraid that you can't think straight or make rational decisions? The reader will say to themselves, yeah, I have. I relate to that. I want to know what this essay is going to be about. This happens more than we'd like to admit. It certainly happened to the people of Salem in 1692. You see how I make that connection, where I start with something really general that everyone can relate to, and then I bring it in slowly to my topic. You can also do a meaningful quotation. Make sure that it's relevant to your topic, though, and also make sure it comes from a credible source. You want to talk about the quote's meaning afterwards and show why it's connected to your topic so that your reader isn't confused. In the immortal words of Jedi Master Yoda, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. Cite George Lucas. His words certainly proved to be true for the people of Salem in 1692. Their overwhelming fear of witchcraft led to a bloody trial full of suffering. See how I make that connection between Yoda and witchcraft? Number 4, universal idea. This is very similar to the question, except you phrase it in the form of a statement. A statement that everyone can relate to. For example, fear leads us to do crazy things, things that we wouldn't normally do. When the feeling of fear creeps in, typically choose 2 options, fight or flight. In the case of the Salem witchcraft trials, the townspeople chose fight and it led to violent consequences. What about number 5? This is for you creative types out there who enjoy creative writing. Rich description with imagery. Draw your reader into the world of the text with your words. Bridget Bishop probably never imagined her death would be so public. She never thought she would be surrounded by her neighbors watching a rope slide around her neck. How could she have known that her death would be a public execution for being a convicted witch? Once you've mastered the hook, you move on to the B of the ABC's, background context. The purpose of this is to build a bridge between your hook, which is pretty general, to your thesis, which is pretty specific. You introduce the text or the topic, including the full title and the author's name, first and last. You also give a little bit of brief necessary information about the text, like basic storyline or characters. So for the Crucible, I would say, like let's say I was using the Yoda hook, right? This quote proves to be especially true for the people of Salem in Arthur Miller's play The Crucible. See, look, Arthur Miller's play The Crucible. Gotta have the full thing. The story centers around the famous witchcraft trials of 1692 that led to hundreds of accusations and almost 2 dozen executions. In this fictional retelling, audiences watch as the town's growing fear leads to the death of their friends and neighbors. If I've never read The Crucible, that's a great summary. That's all I really need to know to understand where this paper is going. So now, the final thing, the thesis statement. Arguably, the most important part of your essay. So a thesis statement is 1 or 2 sentences in your intro paragraph that states the overall argument and how you're going to prove it. You let the reader know what the essay is going to be about. To craft a strong thesis needs to be the first thing that you write, because everything else hinges on it. Strong thesis has a clear opinion on a topic, also known as a claim. Don't be wishy-washy. Use strong word choice, proper grammar, and a formal tone. If you need to know how to craft a thesis, look no further than this formula. Topic plus claim plus roadmap equals thesis. Let's dive into that formula a little bit deeper. So, step 1, topic. Let's say I was writing about after-school sports. Now, I need an opinion or a claim about that topic. After-school sports are just as important as for middle school students as in-school learning. So I've got my topic, my claim, and now my roadmap. Briefly lay out your supporting reasons like a roadmap. Most traditional essays have 3 body paragraphs, so include 3 reasons in your thesis, briefly. After-school sports are just as important for middle school students as in-school learning because of the numerous benefits they provide. These benefits include physical exercise and health, community building with peers, and strategic thinking skills. In those, I will dive into those 3 topics in my body paragraphs, but that's just a little teaser of what's to come. So here's what my sample intro would look like. I need to write an essay about the theme of the crucible. So what do I need first? Well, a topic and an opinion about that topic, which is also known as a claim. And then I need evidence to be able to support my claim. So let's see here. The theme is the crucible, or the topic is the theme of the crucible. Claim. I think that the theme is about fear. I think Miller's trying to tell us that when people get scared, their decisions become irrational and have violent consequences. And there's 3 places in the text that I think prove this point. So I put it all together into a neat little thesis package. Boom. Now I've got my hook, I've got my background info, and I've got my thesis. That's an awesome introduction paragraph.